How's it going, everyone? And welcome back to the unofficial WCC Hoops podcast. So this one isn't really going to be a full episode, but this is something I've got to get off my chest as the realignment conversation continues to happen, and we're starting to get news about Stanford and Cal, the remaining of the Pac-4. What's the news about how Gonzaga's role in this is all starting to play out, and it sounds like that the dream of the Big 12 is dead, at least for now. The Brett Yormark, the commissioner of the Big 12, more or less said as much once the Colorado, Arizona State, Utah scenario really started to play into shape. So with that means that Gonzaga is staying put. The fate of the remaining of the Pac-4 is still up in the air. What does that mean for those teams, especially those four teams? And what does that mean for everybody else? And with all the talk out there, and as much of an unrealistic option as I think this is, you know what? I'm going to throw out this crazy idea that I have, and it's starting to, at least I've started to see a couple of people hint at parts of this idea. And you know what? How about this? For the sustainability of that Pac-4 and West Coast basketball in general, I propose the Super Conference. We're already heading that way with a lot of these other conferences already. So here's what I say. I say you build a Super Conference of the remaining four Pac-12, Pac-4 teams, of the Mountain West Conference, all 11 teams, and the 9 WCC teams, and turn them into one Super 24 team conference. And I know that sounds crazy, but hear me out on this one. So here's how this all works out. Yes, the WCC doesn't play football, but that does mean that there is still 16 teams to play football between the Pac-12 and the Mountain West. You know what? You take those 16 teams and you do what you need to do on the football side. I don't care. What I care about is the basketball side. So now you have 24 teams in this Super Basketball Conference. And in that Super Basketball Conference, you now have 11 top 100 teams based off last year's net ratings. You have the likes of St. Mary's and Gonzaga and San Diego State and Washington State, New Mexico, Stanford, Santa Clara. All these teams are now in the same conference with each other. And this only makes this conference stronger. If anything, the remaining of the Pac-12 schools kind of weaken some of this scenario. And we'll talk about that as I break this down a little bit more. But here's the 24 teams. I think it can work. And here's how it works. You break this up into two 12-team divisions. I don't care what you call them or whatever else, but two 12-team divisions. You have a 17-game regular season schedule. What that means is that you would play the 11 teams in your own division once, each of the 11 other teams once, and then you will play 6 of the 12 in the other division. And much like the WCC has right now, that would be determined upon the previous year standings or whatnot, and then that's how you kind of start to determine who plays who the following year. Obviously, you'd figure out something first year, but moving on from there, there'd be essentially a tiered rated pecking order on who those other 6 teams would be you're playing from the other division. So again, I'm thinking 17 games, 11 in division, 6 out of division. Your conference tourney is now a 6-day tournament. All 12 from each of the divisions play essentially their own tournament, and then the 2 winners of those tournaments play each other for the auto bid. And maybe, I don't know like how the auto bids would work. Maybe this is a 2-bid league now as opposed to 1 bid, or how ever the NCAA decides that they're going to change all this, because I bet the NCAA is going to have to change it at some point. But you know what? To me, it sounds crazy. It sounds kind of ludicrous, but this can work. And now hear me out on the divisions. I've at least taken a stab at my first jot at what these divisions could be. And here's what I'm looking at. I've also tried to break these down to try to break up the WCC and the Mountain West teams as best as possible, and also the remaining four of the Pac-4 schools. So I'm going to start with, again, no ranking. I don't have names for these things. So we're just going to say the first division I'm putting together is going to be, I'm going down in order based off of the net ratings a year ago. Gonzaga, Boise State, Nevada, Washington State, Stanford, USF, Colorado State, Fresno, Portland, Wyoming, Pepperdine, San Diego. It's a pretty balanced group. I think it's definitely stronger than anything it's very similar to what the WCC looked like a year ago with a couple of extra teams in there. It's stronger than whatever the remaining Pac-4 are going to get. And then on the other side, the other division, I have St. Mary's, San Diego State, Utah State, New Mexico, Santa Clara, UNLV, San Jose State, LMU, Air Force, Pacific, Oregon State, and Cal. Yes, Oregon State and Cal are have two of the worst net ratings from a year ago. And Cal is the worst. I don't expect Cal to be there this year, but that's a whole other conversation. But again, I think this is an idea. This is a pipe dream. I know that this is probably not going to happen. The likelihood of something like this being a reality is slim to none, because the TV deal has to be there. And yes, the WCC got a new TV deal recently, or they extended the existing one and now are shifting everything over to the ESPN side. So the old WCC network is shifting over to be part of ESPN Plus, and won't have the old existing name. So they're moving away from Stadium. But recap of the way how this could work, how I think this could look: a combination of the Mountain West, the Pac-4, and the WCC into a super conference of 24 teams, 2 divisions, 2 12-team divisions. You have a 6-day conference tournament that will determine a winner. You break these up as evenly as you can based on the old conference alignments. Maybe you try to keep some of the old rivalries in existence, but really this is an opportunity to create new rivalries against new opponents. And I think this is going to work. I think this would work really well. Tell me what you think. Let me know it in the comments on YouTube. Let me know over Twitter what you think of this. I'll put out some poll questions or whatnot to kind of see what you're gauging on this and what you think. It's crazy. It's ludicrous, but maybe it's just crazy enough to work.